Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Mehere Baba program. I'm Fred Stankus, and today's program is a continuation on a tribute to Hermes Reiter, Lawrence Hermes Reiter, born in 1946, passed away August 23rd, 2007, at age 61 of acute illness, and he passed away in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I met Hermes in the 1970s, and there's a picture of us. We played this in college, Christian college, a game of pickup basketball on their outdoor dirt court, and we defeated them. We were just 5-6 pilgrims there, just on pilgrimage in Mehere Baba's tomb, and they decided to ask us to play because they saw my height, and they said, "That's me with the beard there and the white." And there's me standing with Hermes over there. Hermes is in the middle in that pink outfit, and then there's a gentleman, I believe he was from Australia, and we stayed in India at the various local hotels, and it was wonderful to be with Hermes. Some of the guest books that were published, the Miami Herald ran an obituary, but of course they had a guest book. Hermes had residences in Miami, in Los Angeles. He lived in Nashville, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He was born of Jewish parents and out of the New York City area. And this one gentleman wrote on the guest book about Hermes. His name is Ellis Pines. He says, "Dear Hermes, back in 1970 when you were staying in Miami, when you told me an incredible story of how you came to Mehere Baba, I was more than impressed by the dedication of your spiritual seeking, including a rigorous discipline by ascetic Catholic orders." Here he is, a Jewish boy, and he's seeking an order that, like, I think we talked about this. There is an order of Christian or Catholic monks, the Trappist monks, that maintain complete silence. And Hermes, at a young age, he's in his 20s, he wants to basically leave the world and devote himself to spiritual pursuits, even being silent and living a rigorous life in a Catholic order. And so one thing that totally epitomized Hermes' personality and his colorful nature was that you could see he was just a real guy. I mean, again, look at this photograph here of how, I mean, he just was so, I mean, there he is in the middle. I mean, look at him. He's with that pink, guru shirt. And when we played basketball, he had bare feet on because he didn't have tennis shoes, and he was running around and yelling, "Give me the ball, give me the ball," and he was yelling, "Hey, hey, hey," when he was doing defense and everything like that. And it was just amazing. And so the point of it is, to be with Hermes, I mean, this man was not a dry individual. I mean, he was totally great humor, personality. And he describes this, he was instrumental in putting together the Lord Mehere series, the biography of Avatar Mehere Baba. These books right here you see, it amounts to 20 volumes, 20 chapters of Mehere Baba's life. And he took this from a crude manuscript from Meher Prabhu, which is a Hindu version published in the 70s by Baal Kalchuri, Baal Kalchuri's manuscript. And he had to take the Indian-British, interpretation. And there's a different interpretation from the Indian-British point of view. And he had to basically edit that and bring it into our American-English translation, which at times was tedious. And he even mentioned, he said, to be responsible to find the wording lay upon me and my clarity of mind, which forced me to read and reread every sentence time and time again in good humor, it was an exercise of demonic nature or torture to be humble to the intellect. In every instance, I did what I thought was intuitively best, but I see now that there are a number of defects, but it is reconciled as human imperfection. And so the thing is, he worked on this work and he produced something so great and so wonderful, and that he said that his biography would not have been complete without the capitulation of the photos. Hermes went on a pursuit in the 70s and went throughout India, and he compiled these photos that were of Meher Baba. This is Meher Baba with the Must Muhammad, the God-intoxicated soul. And Hermes produced these by taking a camera with him that would take photos of another photo. Of course, this is the early 70s, where you do not have the digital, technology that we have today. And he says, this biography would not be the same phenomenon, Lord Meher, without the photos. And so Meher Baba's divine and human beauty and multi-sided character and personality was so magnetic and attractive. And having worked with this and studied Meher Baba's photographs for several years, prepared me to visualize in flashes many aspects of Meher Baba's life. And so what I did is, when I had the help of Mehere, Ronnie, Baba's most beloved woman disciple, he had help from Padre, Faradun driver, Padre. He had also help from Jolly Ronnie. He had also Baba's sister Mani, who helped him in regards to putting the photographs in chronological order. And they encouraged him to go on this project in the 70s, to go out throughout India. Because when I met him, I just thought Hermes was a happy-go-lucky guy who was experiencing a spiritual honeymoon of bliss, to be in India, to go to Baba's tomb, to take his blessings in darshan every day and be there. But he also had another vision. He had another focus in his life, and that was to compile these photos of Avatar Meher Baba. And he has the most, you could say, complete archival photo set of Meher Baba that there is in anywhere of the Meher Baba's world. So that will be, of course, put into archival collections, I'm sure. But continuing on with some of these messages of these eulogies, Kitty Davy, who was an English woman, a Baba lover, who lived to be about 100 years old before she passed away in the 90s, once commented, she said, "Your picture work, and through your picture work, you're attaining a tremendous knowledge of Meher Baba's life that has been unmatched. I have long been very hungry for such things, and in you I found a kinsman." So in other words, Kitty Davy, this charming, sophisticated, early disciple of Meher Baba, who was with him both in India and in England, talks about him. And these are photos from Love Personified, Hermes publication. Surely being in your little home in those early years was to be surrounded by not only images and stories, but by a wonderful atmosphere. I remember once when Lynott, the artist, and I were over there soaking it up and laughing, and you exclaimed, "It's a party!" That was Hermes' feeling. It's a party to talk about God, to see his photographs, to talk about the spiritual path, and not at all judge anybody. It was a celebration of creation, celebration of all the paths and traditions in the world, and celebrating the avatar of this age. Meher Baba will go down in history as the most photographed God-man ever. Of course, people are, saying, "Why? What do you mean?" Well, in 1954, he said, "I'm the same one as Jesus, Buddha, Rama, and Krishna." Do you have photos of Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, Rama, and Krishna like we do in Meher Baba? No, you don't. So Meher Baba, through works like Hermes, Love Personified, will be one of the great archives of all time, to where you'll be seeing these photos and collections. Oh, this is a beautiful photos here. This is Meher Baba's most beloved disciple, with some of his women disciples up there in the top. And then there's Meher Baba here on this side here, with hat on, and then some of those other photos. But Hermes collected all these. Can you imagine? There's, thousands of photos. And then he published Love Personified in the 80s, and then in 2001, he comes up, he says, "I have more photos, so why not I publish another one?" So here he is, publishing another photo collage of Meher Baba called God-Man, God in Human Form. So Hermes was amazing. He thanks all these people, Elizabeth Patterson, Margaret Krask, who were Western disciples living in Myrtle Beach, who gave him, as Elizabeth Patterson once said, Baba's photographic negatives are my most precious possessions. And Hermes had unbelievable amount of negatives. And he said, it was revealed to me that one aspect of Meher Baba's manifestation to his lovers is when his photographs come alive. Many Baba lovers who have a photograph of Baba would say, oh my, Baba looked like he winked at me or something. Here's another good story. This is from a friend of mine who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, Ronnie Greenstein. And Ronnie posted this on this Meher Baba listserv computer the other day. He said, last December 2006, I was in Myrtle Beach. There's a Meher Baba Center of 500 acres there on the ocean. It's unbelievable. It's surrounded by all these luxury hotels, but this land is still pristine. There's a lake in the middle, there's forest and woods, and then there's cabins where you can stay at, you can visit. And so Ronnie Greenstein was visiting Myrtle Beach, and he said he was at the center after a long absence of not being there for over 20 years. I was wandering around on a walk through the woods, and then I came across Del Ruba, which is formerly the house that Meher Baba stayed at when he was at Myrtle Beach. And so he sort of was walking by, and I really had no business being there. I was just wandering. And lo and behold, who did I bump into? Is Hermes. Hermes was at the center, and he remembered me from the 70s. We hadn't seen each other in 36 years. And so we chatted briefly, and I told him, in reminiscing of how he was my Baba link, because what he did is that he went into a health food store in the Bay Area when he lived there and put a stack of Meher Baba universal messages with his picture there. And Ronnie Greenstein in the 70s picked one of those up and was through to Hermes' hand putting it there. Hermes was very, very much on a zealous mission at that time in the early 70s, and was trying to talk about Baba to everybody he met. And then also he said, Peter Townsend in the early 70s wrote an article that was published in Rolling Stone magazine, and Meher Baba's photograph was on the cover of Rolling Stone, of course, the music magazine. And he then saw that, and of course, there was a rock concert in Atlanta, the Atlanta Rock Festival in the 70s, that they had photos of Baba. You see, back in that time, Woodstock, for instance, the Woodstock Festival in 1969, there was photos of Baba in the audience. People were into the spiritual Eastern thought. Sure, a lot of them were dropping tabs of acid, doing grass, whatever, but at the same time, many of them were seeking the spiritual pursuit too. It was a great time. I mean, it was a time when people would pick up hitchhikers. People would say, hey, why don't you come and crash? I'll give you some vegetarian food. People had trust in each other. And as we've become more technical at this age, I don't know. We've lost trust in people. We have more trust in machines, a computer, than we do in each other. We talk more to a computer than we talk to each other. Anyway, I'm getting off a track. Let's get back to Hermes here. And so, but anyway, Hermes was just amazing. There was an important day one time. He went to these God Speaks meetings at Hermes for him. Actually, I have to take back, this was in Miami. This wasn't in the Bay Area. Ronnie lived in Miami before he moved to San Francisco, where Hermes was residing in Miami. They had these God Speaks meetings, and there was important, because one desperate day I asked Baba, who was on the wall, a photograph, who is my master? I'm seeking a master. Gathering up and arraying all the previous 12 months' experience and revelations, Baba simply stated, and this came through the photo, hey dummy, who in the world do you think I am? I have to thank Hermes for his dedicated service to the beloved master and his family. Thanks for my first beautiful Baba photos that I watched you process in those early days. Can you imagine? Hermes would take negatives and he'd find them and process them and make them into these beautiful photos, and he'd blow them up, he'd offer them for sale, and then eventually what happened is the publishing of Lord Meher, Bao Kalchuri's manuscript, and other books by Bao is where Hermes got involved. This is the first volume of Lord Meher that Hermes published. It was called originally Meher Prabhu, the biography of Avatar Meher Baba, or Lord Meher, and It was by Balkaut Shuri. My beloved, the story of your divine game by my broken pen is being dedicated with falling tears as lovely flowers of faith to your sweet smile. That's Balkaut Shuri who was stating that. And here you see benefactors. Hermes relied on people helping him. He had no money. This gentleman, this young man in his 20s, and as he hit the 80s, said he was pushing 30, was putting together this unbelievable epic work of 7,000 pages, Lord Mehere, and he states in the last book what some of his feelings of what happened to him. And by the way, I want to get this photograph in too, because today is August 31st when we're doing this taping, and there's a picture of Erich as Meher Baba and Erich over there with the fez on over to Baba's right. And it's the day Erich left us and died and dropped his body. I can't think of the year now. It was 2002, I believe, 5 years ago. And so it's timely that I remember him. He was Baba's right-hand man, Erich Jesawala, who I met many times. I've been to India 17 times. My first visit was 71. My last was 1999. But he was amazing. He was he was Baba's right-hand man, interpreting Baba's gestures since Baba was silent. He also attended to Baba's needs and so forth. He was a man amongst men. He was truly, truly remarkable. So Erich Jesawala, we remember him too. So, but anyway, in this last volume, Hermes says, finishing this book was something superhuman. He says, after 1,000,001 words, after 10,001 complex thoughts and emotions, after 1,001 images, characters and personalities, what could I possibly add? What great power could I invoke to enrich the experience for the reader of encountering He who is God, of encountering that what is God? What praises could I utter that could add to the describable or to describe the undescribable one? What could I speak of that which is unspeakable? Therefore I must invoke the Unnameable One, the Ineffable One, the One who 1,000 forms is in one. Who else can I invoke to give hope when I face hopelessness? Who else can I invoke to give help when I face helplessness? Who else can I invoke for truth when I see chaos and confusion and despair? He who is infinite has taken me to the limit of my mind. He who is light has shown me what darkness I am. He who is knowledge has shown what ignorance I am. He who is unlimited has shown me that one's limit breaks down before the infinite. If one is honest, one sees one in nothing before him. One experiences one's own nothingness. Without him, there is nothing. Without him, I am nothing. Without him, there is only multiplicity, which makes up the nothingness. Without him, there is only nothingness, and that is unbearable to the mind. The first question of all philosophy is, why is there something instead of nothing? The mind must have something, even if it is imagination. And that which imagination creates illusion is more multiplicity. There is something instead of nothing, but it is a dream. Where to all such words lead? Where to all books like this lead? It all leads to revealing that mind cannot know him, that no matter how much you read and memorize and parrot, one cannot know him. But such is unbearable to the mind. Therefore there is love and humor. Without love and humor, illusion, that which mind creates at its junction or interchange of perception between the inner and outer dimensions, becomes unbearable, intolerable, and meaningless in its existence, for it exists in non-existence. Love and humor sustain the mind. And this series of books, the Lord Mehere, symbolizes to my mind something superhuman that I have had to face and endure to a point where it had broken me down and left my mind on the edge of the unfathomable. These words have been painful to extract. Without love and humor, the conclusion to this end would be intolerable. One must find the love and be open to love. One must find the humor and be open to the humor. If one does this, then it is said one has achieved something superhuman. To illustrate this thought, The following incident occurred in 1950 in the town of Belgaum. Meher Baba was gathering with some of his male companions on the morning of October 30th. Meher Baba said via his alphabet board, "My oath is so irrevocable that from January 1st, 1951, not a single one from among you will remain with me. That is what I foresee. That is the reason behind all adjustments and help from me. It is to enable you to remain with me." At this point, Baba pointed to Dr. Nilu and ordered him to kick him. Nilu complied. After a few moments, Baba continued, "In this new life, I am expecting something from you which is superhuman in some aspects. I am too in the soup with you. To keep cheerful under all circumstances is superhuman, and that's what I expect from you. Let us therefore do our best to help each other. I help you, you help me, in order to uphold each other's oath." And Hermes replies, "For me, this incident compromises what the new life may mean for us who are not there, what friendship and companionship with Meher Baba may truly mean. It is something my mind has suffered with for the demand for something superhuman. Since I am the one responsible for carrying the load, like a boy carrying the elephant, I had to bear the responsibility of creating this biography, Lord Meher. I failed numerous times in remaining cheerful under all circumstances. So far, I have been unable to live such a life, such a new life, but I urge for something superhuman allures me." And at no other place or time have I found that Meher Baba used such words. 7,000 words. 7,000 pages, over 20 years of painstaking work. Hermes Reiter, our brother, who passed away August 23rd, 2007, at age 61, gave to us all this. I mean, and this is from a masterful, masterful genius who gave it all. And his pursuits in life were God and love of humanity and all paths and all traditions and respecting all and seeking those who want the knowledge. There's knowledge there for us, folks. And all these paths, there's truth. And Hermes has said the book, this last book, represents the last series of volumes of the life and work of Avatar Meher Baba. In existential terms, in Meher Baba's man finds himself contemporaneous with God. Reflecting back to the 80s when I began designing the first book, I had determined a concept I had to live with for the next 17 years. The original manuscript had many chapters less than 4,500 pages, and I knew that would not be feasible to compress. I remember the Latin words of Julius Caesar, "Veni, vidi, venci." In other words, divide and conquer. Therefore, a new chapter began when Meher Baba moved to a new area or set up a new headquarters. And so this phase of work, in other words, such a chapter unfolded and restructured itself as a material of mind's thought, and it took shape into defined print. Thus, words took their seemingly final meaning and interpretation. Each volume ended in a similar way, with climatic and a new phase about to start. And now Hermes says, which I have to say is unbelievable. He says, "All that amounts to nothing now that have gone through the suffering and everything else, because I have completed the task. Something, in the words of the journalist Tom Hopkinson's, that would take 100 years to complete, I've completed in 20 years. Because I completed something that God himself wanted done, I consider myself one of the luckiest persons to have ever lived. When I feel the ecstasy, there is no man I envy, there is no man I wish ill. All wrongs have been righted. I have paid the price for forgiveness. This is a wonderful feeling, and because of that, I am among the luckiest persons alive on earth. And I feel this with love and good humor and beneficence for those concerned. I am not a man of prayer, but a man of action. But the time has come when I must pray. I must pray that what I have done by completing this work has long-lasting meaning, until that day comes when one experiences, in Rumi's words, the man of God is not learned from book. That will be the time when one enters the path towards realizing God. In that realizing, process, all books are cast away. All the worldly treasures and kingdoms and powers become as if a junkyard of trash and rags, and all the world's calamities are like wounds one bears in one's body. For this is the ultimate purpose of Meher Baba's advent, the realization of God. At least this is my experience of why Meher Baba incarnated on earth and what he has entrusted me to produce. So Hermes, all salutations to you, my brother. Bal Kalchuri, all salutations to you who provided Hermes the material that he has put together from your works. Lord Meher, unbelievable epic. This here too, this in God in human form. And let's just open the page and see what page it would be. And there's Meher Baba. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Meher Baba in his tomb. That is the tomb. It was built before he passed away. And that's the tomb. And of course on the side is Seclusion Hill. So that is basically our final message to you about our beloved Meher Baba. And to our dear brother Hermes Reiter, you've earned a great place in our hearts, Hermes. Your words and your work and your photos will live on forever. Thank you for a great life service. Much love to you. Bye, Baba. God bless Hermes.